volunteer from the lab, Tomasz, is being fitted with a transcranial magnetic stimulation device, TMS for short. It generates a strong magnetic field that can send signals to your brain.
The idea is that you stimulate the brain using a focused magnetic field, and if you stimulate that in the right part of the motor cortex, it's a part of the brain that actually controls your fingers. It's like you're pulling on a string here. Every time you pull it, the finger goes.
With the device hooked up, the researchers can make his finger jump involuntarily by sending a signal to his motor cortex.
We're gonna be locating the spot of your motor cortex that moves one of your fingers. How about that?
That works. That was a pinky movement up.
Okay.
Sometimes they ask him to move his finger on his own.
Could you replicate the movement, Ifin, that you felt?
Or something like this.
Remarkably, by recording the small electrical signals that travel from his brain down to his finger muscles, Alice and Uri can pinpoint the exact moment that Tomasz's brain has initiated a movement, almost 50 milliseconds before he actually moves. With this information, it's as though they can predict his movement slightly before it actually happens. So now his sense of agency is about to be put to the test.
Who initiated the movement?
It was me.
How much agency did you feel over the movement?
Quite a lot.
Full agency? Okay. Who initiated the movement?
I don't know.
How much agency did you feel over the movement?
I would say some agency.
In some instances, just as Tomasz decides to move his finger, the researchers use the magnetic field to make his finger move.
Who initiated the movement?
I really don't know.
Okay. How much agency did you feel over the movement?
A little bit.
So even in the instances when Tomasz really did decide to move his finger,
how much agency did you feel over the movement?
No agency at all.
He didn't always feel like he was in control.
When Tomasz initiated the movement himself, yet we intervened with the TMS, Tomasz said, that wasn't me. I didn't initiate the movement. It was the computer. He thought that the computer initiated the movement, or it was both of them, or he wasn't sure, but he almost never said that it was him.
So what do you think is going on there? How is this happening?
You know, we walk around and we feel like, you know, we are the authors of our actions and so on. And you can see with just a little bit of messing around, it tends to fall apart.
It's fragile, like our sense of self, our memories, our sense of agency. They're all things that our brain evolved over time, but they're fragile and they can be manipulated under the right circumstances.
Everything has to align for you to feel this sense of agency. When the finger moves, we get this feedback back to the brain, and it's incorporated with whatever is happening in the brain to create the movement, and together you get this sense of agency over the movement. I think that in everyday life, we are in control. However, I think this experiment shows we're quite happy to relinquish control.
Like states of consciousness, there are levels of agency, ways it can be manipulated, and even taken away.
We think A happened and then B happened, that's the end of the story. But of course, most of our brain activity is unconscious.
Who initiated the first movement?
That was me.
So we sometimes misinterpret. Our experience of voluntary action is a little bit retrospective in this sense. The brain looks at what the body did and figures out if that makes sense as an act of its own free will.
Your sense of agency or control also has to do with feedback you get after the decision, physical, social, and emotional.
I think of agency as a sense. So there is a sense of agency that sometimes can get disrupted, perhaps, just like you have a sense of sight or smell and so on. Sometimes you have visual illusions. It's similar with a sense of agency. I can manipulate your sense of agency, but that doesn't mean that we never have a sense of agency.